Alright, welcome to my channel. This is Bruce the Boss back, and this will probably be, I believe, my first video on another passion, interest, or hobby of mine, which is cycling, as I'm about to get ready for what is going to be my first ride during the 2022 cycling season for me, anyway. As I haven't ridden this thing since, what was it, around Thanksgiving 2021, so it's been quite a few months. Now, by the way, I am participating in the multiple sclerosis, or also known as MS, ride to the shore. It's a 100-mile, also known as the Century Mile bike ride, to help raise awareness and or funding for multiple sclerosis research. If you'd like to donate to my page to help raise some funds and to allow me to participate in the ride itself, go ahead and click on the link in the description box below to my team page. I'll put the link specifically for my page, although I am going to be part of a 3-man team. The ride is this September the 24th, 2022, starting off in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm riding a 2018 Trek Madone. This is a rim brake series, carbon fiber. I am using the Ultegra R8000 group set, and I do have an 1132 cassette in the back because here in San Antonio it is pretty hilly, and this is offering, or has offered me, the best gear ranges to manage a lot of those inclines and flats that I do come across. I am running a standard crankset. That's a 53 tooth big ring, 39 tooth small ring, or smaller inner ring. I started off with a standard crankset when I first got this bike, but damaged that one mid-summer, around July, 4th of July, so replaced it with a semi-compact crankset. But I noticed I wasn't able to achieve the same high-end speeds. At first I attributed to the fact that by the time it took me to replace that crankset with another one, about 2-3 weeks had passed before I was able to ride again, and I just attributed to probably rust. But when I noticed that I wasn't achieving those same top end speeds, okay, the first week I was able to attribute it to, okay, it's been a while, I need to get back into the groove. You know, I had been doing indoor cycling until then, but it's just not the same. Second week, I'm like, okay, again, still need to get back into that groove and shape. But by the 4th week, I was like, no, it's the crankset. So I did come back this season with a new standard crankset. We'll see how that goes. And what is also going to be brand new for this cycling season actually is I've upgraded to the ZIPP 404 Firecrest wheel set. These are 58 millimeter deep. These are clinchers, by the way. I would love to go tubeless, but you know, it's just not in the cards for what was available for me at the time. And so we're going to see how these do, especially in comparison to my previous rides last cycling season, whether I try to compare it to my first ride out in 2021 with this first ride out 2022, and or my last performance. So we'll see. We'll try to attempt to do a 23-mile lap around. See you in a little bit. Now, how did the ride go? The ride is over, and it actually went really well. I had a really decent ride, really great showing my first time out in what was my 6th fastest ride for that 23-mile distance, averaging about 17.45 miles an hour. I had a really strong start, I must say, and those inclines on the second half, and if you live in San Antonio and you're familiar with Stone Oak, you know what I'm referring to these hills. In fact, this part of Texas is known as Hill Country, and where I live is also known as Westover Hills for a reason. So the second half, a lot of climbing, and that was a lot of work, but I gotta say, love the ride, love the wheels. They feel great. For those who are thinking about deep section or midsection carbon wheels, don't get too discouraged. I hear a lot about the fear of the bigger the rim, the more likely susceptible you are to crosswinds. I didn't really feel any of that, despite it being very windy today. and me coming across quite a bit of feeling the crosswinds. I did not feel it affect my ride quality in the least, and or pushing against my wheels. If anything, it was more so mental and my concern. Now, keep in mind, a little disclaimer: unlike most cyclists you see, especially cyclist influencers, whether it be on the GCN network, etc., I am not as skinny as them. I am roughly about 6 foot 2 inches tall, 225 pounds. So most cyclists you see are skin and bones, roughly about, I don't want to say skin and bones, just very low fat percentages, but not a whole lot of muscle mass either. It's more so lean muscle, if anything, and they are more so in the ballpark of maybe 160 pounds, 165, 150 ballpark figure. So my weight could also play a part in it. The fact that I am much bigger than the average cyclist you see, I may not be as susceptible to wind pushing me given my greater weight and size. So that's also something to consider. I did notice, again, the big difference with going back to the standard crankset. I was able to achieve some of my top end speed a lot easier and quicker during the ride. So I am glad I made that move, although I do see why they do prefer compact sometimes when in very hilly terrain. Preferably, stick to standard if you're on flat terrain, which I plan on going back to for the MS ride this September. So that's what I mostly have it for, but I still was able to make up the difference. So I got to say, again, the ZIPP 404 wheels felt great. They rode great. They descended extremely fast. I didn't notice it really hindered my climbing ability either. If anything, I was able to ride a lot smoother going up these inclines than I was on my semi-compact crankset. It was definitely consistent. The wheels may have slowed me down just a little bit going up, but I was able to maintain my cadence a lot better thanks to the crankset itself. And again, one of the great things about deep section wheels is that while you may be losing a bit of speed going up the inclines, you do have to go down, and that's eventually, assuming that you're not doing nothing but an uphill climb, that is. But you make up for it, and I definitely made up for it on the flats and on the declines. Therefore, it really wasn't a handicap. And then, if anything, the standard crankset and these ZIPP 404s are going to be an advantage when I do fly back out to Jersey. Because one thing I can say is 2 years ago, I had a Trek 1.1 road bike, which was my starter bike that I got back in 2014, although the bike was a good deal older than that in terms of model. And I was at best averaging about 15.23 miles an hour going this same route 2 years ago on that bike. But then when I took my bike or shipped my bike up to New Jersey to go visit my brother and challenge him to what was going to be our first ride against each other or with each other, and at that point, over 3 years, despite the fact that I was doing 15.3 miles an hour here or 15.23 miles an hour here in San Antonio that whole 2020 cycling season, when I got up to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and we went riding for I did 33 miles. He only did 27. I killed it, and was able to average a little over 18 miles an hour on that bike. So it just seems like with these inclines here in San Antonio, it translates comparatively to a flatter surface and lesser elevation in New Jersey on the East Coast, about 3 mile an hour difference, I would say. So what I did here today may or should hopefully translate into much faster speeds in New Jersey for the MS ride that I hope to smash. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted throughout the summer and how I progress. I gotta say, starting off at this speed and as well as I did for my first ride out in several months, this is just the ground level, I guess you can say. So I am so far away from my ceiling, so I can't wait to see what that is, if this is the starting level speed that I'm hitting so far. I can only go up from here. So, and that was definitely about a little over 1 mile an hour faster than I believe what was my starting speed, or starting average speed this time last year, April of 2021, on the same bike, but with the box section aluminum wheels. Now, I also want to say, for those who are considering what kind of bike you want to get, bikes have definitely evolved over the past quarter century, over the last half century especially. It used to be a time when you only had a few types of bikes to choose from. You had your racing bike, you had your cruiser, and you had your mountain bike. And then in the 90s, those popular BMX bikes became a thing. Well, now you have so many more options to choose from, and a lot of them look a lot similar. You have your lightweight climbing bikes, which are sometimes aluminum. You can also get some carbon fiber like mine, but their biggest thing is not so much aerodynamics, but rather just lightweight to help reduce how much weight you're moving, especially up these climbs. That's what those are built for, and hopefully the lighter the weight of the bike, the faster you can go on somewhat faster on the declines. You have your aero bikes, which is what I have with that Trek Madone. They're built strongly on aerodynamics, made out of carbon fiber, still a lot lighter than your average aluminum or titanium bike, much lighter, and you can feel that difference. But they are a little heavier than the lightweight bikes I mentioned before. But the purpose of them, of aero bikes, is the positioning and the geometry of the bike to help make you more aerodynamic, meaning allowing you to cut through that wind and wind resistance a lot faster, a lot better, therefore allowing you to go faster overall. You have your endurance bikes, which should also be lighter weight compared to your average aluminum and or titanium built bike. Geometry is not as aerodynamic, but it's all built for the long haul. You have your gravel bikes. These bikes will have more clearance for the tires. They will look a lot like your lightweight and aero bikes, but again, they'll have more clearance for the tires, for bigger tires, and you're more likely to also go tubeless tires with those, because you'll be more likely to be riding on gravel and or stone cobble roads without getting punctures. You can still average some pretty decent speeds on those. Now for me, I went aero just because I want to go as fast as possible, even though I'm not competing in any races necessarily, no crits or anything. I just like to challenge myself, go as fast as I can, and I'm just looking for that trying to be as, I've fallen in the trap of being as aerodynamic. So if that's what you want, go for an aero bike. If you just want to ride somewhat competitively for fun, but just to maintain shape, I would definitely say just get a endurance bike. Maybe even a gravel bike may be all that you need, because it'll allow you to go off-road a little bit too, but not as off-road as a mountain bike, but will offer you the greater level of gearing options for you to travel on the road and off the road at optimum speeds. So that's just my 2 cents on as far as bike choices you can get. Well, that's my video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Again, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment on this video, and I'm out. Peace.